Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life. Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast, Canada's drag racing show. Brandon here, as always, joined by my good friend, Andrew Sturck. Andrew, how's it going tonight, bud? Excellent. Excellent.
I can't complain.
Well, yeah, I can a little bit. It was freezing rain when we did leave work, so it was a little slippery on the walk home, and that's a disappointing time. That's valid. It's upsetting. Yeah.
That's valid. I mean, we had that today out our way as well. And for a little while there, we had that brief warmth period where I'm looking at the race cars again going like, there's a window here to head south if I didn't have other things holding me back. But winter has not descended, but it certainly reminded us that that's a no bueno for most of us now. So
yeah. And I was talking to some folks earlier today, actually, about some racing ideas for the winter and start of spring, so we'll see what happens. But it's exciting. That kind of warmed me up a little bit when I started talking about that and the idea of it. But we'll jump in to the show before we get too carried away. Want to always thanks our sponsor for tonight, Katie Transmission Services in Belleville, for any and all transmission service needs. Johnny just had a post there. They already have a power glide done for Max Goche, so Maxie's ready to go for next year. He's just got to go pick it up, throw that thing in. I'm sure that's he will have that fired in no time, knowing him. He's got a lot of work to do this winter, as does everybody else. So if you are interested or looking to get an upgrade for your racing program, for your everyday vehicle, car, truck, whatever it is, give Katie a call, check them out. Make sure you tell them that you heard about them from the Bracket Life broadcast. They'll appreciate it. Lots of good dudes over there. So Absolutely. That'll be fun. So Andrew, we don't have, obviously being middle of November, we don't have very much to talk about for the Canadian countdown. What we do have to talk about here, let me just get this rolling here. Two seconds.
Pulling up the paperwork, finding the
screen. There we go. There it is. It's all moving. Here we are.
Technology.
It is. It's a beautiful thing. Winter Rumble Practice Street Challenge, February 3rd, 2024. Mark it down. If you haven't marked it on your calendar, then you should mark it down on your calendar. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of one of those things that I don't want to put it in the back of my mind because we do have a few months because it's going to sneak up, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
You know what? Breaking up the winter, right? Talking about things to look forward to. This is one of the things to put on the list that helps bridge that long winter. So totally going to be excited for this.
Exactly. So keep that in mind when you are making your winter plans for it. Try and get this down, move some other stuff around because we got some other big news there that I just found out actually probably 15 minutes ago. So Andrew, you and I have spoke a bunch about Josie Brooks racing the Man Cup all year. Right? Very successful. I'm not sure how many wins it was to this point, but a boatload. Have been very competitive all year long. Absolutely. So got the update today. I'm not sure when the last race was or when it was all finalized, but Josie Brooks goes on to win 2 championships this year. Man Cup Series, she wins Top Gas, which is the 820 Index, and Pro ET. So that's pretty wicked, right?
Absolutely.
That's cool.
And big wins. Josie's been a fantastic bike racer, like a very tough racer for years, raced against her in a lot of the classes up in Grand Bend. So I don't want to say a surprise. I mean, championships like this, the double up is always a big accomplishment, but she's a fantastic racer. Great team, great equipment. They can hang with just about anything. Dragsters, door cars, and evidently in the bike world can reign right on top. So congratulations to her and Dan and everyone else who travels around. And that's, if you look at their schedule, there's a lot of miles put on to follow that series. And they've done a great job, doing well in it. I think every time they had an event, we were talking about her being in a final or winning or doubling up in some capacity. So great for
Yeah.
her.
Yes, absolutely. So it's cool to join a series like that, have that commitment, because that is a large one, as you said, for for obvious reasons, for the time it just takes to get to those events, the expenses that come with it, everything like that. So really cool when you put all of that commitment forward, put the effort through, and then you see these results and finish off with 2 championships. So that's really neat. That kind of segues really well into our main discussion tonight. Andrew, I'll let you lead this one off, get it rolling. But, we go from one bike champion to another bike champion.
Legendary bike champion at that. I mean, if you haven't seen the name to the show tonight, I'm sure this will all be new to you, but 16-time AMA championship or champion, 3 championships in 1 year running in bike class series. Notable highlights: 3 class wins on the same day. 2002 at Norwalk, I believe that's the AMA series. That puts in the same boat to some of the Elrods of the world who've won 3 races in 1 national event. That's a rare class to live in. 6 Sportsman Rider of the Year awards in AMA, multiple track championships between Cayuga, London, RCSS, three-time consecutive RCSS champion. Now a Division 1 champion for the bike and sled class, and the most recent number 2 on the planet in NHRA in the bike class, Mike Konopacki.
How are you,
Mike? Excellent, Mike. It is great to have you here. That is a resume unlike any other. It is one that I would love to have myself, stacked right up there. So it's cool to do that. I'm really excited to have you on, talk about this. We hyped up the Vegas trip as much as we could when we were talking about this here. We watched it all. I did. I watched, I think, every run. I might have missed 1 round live, but I did watch all the runs that you had made over the weekend. So that was really cool. It's great to have you here to finally talk about it, and discuss the legendary career you have had to this point.
Great to talk about it.
Absolutely. It's cool. So you've raced with Andrew much more than you've raced with me, and had these discussions with him more. So this can be a good learning experience for me into the bike world and everything like that. So I'm definitely excited for it. So before we get heavy into the Vegas trip, because that's, I think, where we want to mainly focus tonight on, because that, it sounds like a really cool deal and something that anybody can make an effort towards being a part of, right, by joining those series. So let's take us back to when and where this all started, how you got into the career, how you got into the bike stuff, and how that went.
Well, I've always been a bike guy since my brother was always into bikes, and then I wanted to get into bikes. So you start doing what we shouldn't be doing, street racing. And then somebody took me to Cayuga, and I was hooked. Couldn't get enough. And probably early 80s, 81 or 82, started racing, the point series at Cayuga. And I think at 86 or 87, I think I won my first championship there. So I won a couple championships at Cayuga, and then that was racing under John Fletcher ownership. When he bought St. Thomas, that's where I went. Started racing St. Thomas and won 2 more championships there. And then 91, I decided to chase what was AMA Pro Star and try my hand down there. And it was tough. Never won a race until the very end of the year in 91. And that was in Super Comp, running 860 index. And then next year, it just continued. I ended up 92 winning my first championship, and then dabbling in Super Comp and Pro ET. 93, I stepped up to Top Gas to go 820 and run Pro ET. And then eventually, I'm not sure when, but decided to run 3 classes. just 2 bikes, 3 classes, wear myself out, wear the pit people out, all the crew. But had success, because to me, success is the more laps you make going down the track, um, the better you know the conditions. And sometimes you use it to your advantage because when you screw up or you get beat, it makes you focus on the next class that you're still in. So it's kind of where the multiple class, running kind of helps you. You can salvage a weekend by, getting refocused and trying to win. And then had success like '02, won the 3 races in one day at Norwalk on 3 different bikes. So that was, and it was hot as can be. So I was wore out by the end of the day, but it was, definitely a fond memory. And then '09 was the year that I won 3 championships in the one year, which worked out really well. But by that time, I was starting to not get tired, but like if you've traveled around the country, it's a lot to, once a month go somewhere racing. So you start early in the year and you end late in the year. And then during the winter, what are you doing? You're freshening up all your stuff. So it does grow tiring. And I think I did that for, almost 20 years chasing the US. Had a lot of fun, got a lot of friends, still talk to them, to this day. Now, usually sometimes in April or the World Finals, make the trip down to Valdosta, just, for the racing, but to see the friends that, that you've, grew up with, racing. And, some of it is now the people that I raced with, their sons were racing, and now, they were racing with Adam, being the same age and everything. So it's
Generational transition is kicked in.
Yeah.
On that, right?
Yeah. So, it's great seeing their kids also race and, do well. But maybe I'm kind of glad maybe I don't chase some of them, because some of them are they're tough.
Yeah.
But
that's cool. Where all did you have to travel to for the AMA stuff and everything else you did run?
the farthest south was Bradenton, but we raced Gainesville, Atlanta, Adco, Englishtown, or not in, yeah, we did do Englishtown, New England, Epping, North Carolina, like Rockingham, North Wilkesboro. They had regional races in Houston, Phoenix one year. Not so a lot out in the mid, but mainly down the eastern border, Chicago, St. Louis. So it's a long drive, especially when you run your own business. You'd leave Wednesday night after work and you drive all night, and, or leave and get there. And, I would always test and tune, so you're still tired from the drive. Sunday, quite often you're the last one to leave because, you've done good at the races. So now you got to get your bike checked for contingency sponsors. So you got to winner circle pitchers or runner-up pitchers. So you could be leaving the track at 11 or 12 and drive all night, like 12 hours, 18 hours to get back to work. But, young man sports doing that, kind of traveling.
Yeah. That's cool. It sounds like that was, well, for the most part, those times, 15, 20 years ago, that was really like the heyday for those type of traveling series, I guess, and for stuff like that. Like that sounds like a massive series and a massive, reach to be going from that much or spanning that far, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Because that's a huge tour.
Yeah, like now they're trying to keep it a little tighter, where they come back to the same track and maybe venture out to another track. Just the traveling expenses.
Yeah, for sure.
And time of what people can't get the time off work to leave on Wednesday, and then you need Monday off. Their holidays are gone.
Yeah.
But and price of fuel now is crazy, and so if you don't have a sponsor, and I've never really banged on doors for sponsors, so I always tried to go by the winnings to get me to the next race, or go back home and work harder.
Yeah,
put in
exactly.
Those extra hours at Tuesday
put
night,
more hours
Wednesday
in.
night before you leave again, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do, right? And that's cool. I love that concept, right? You just worked hard for it, did what you had to do, show up to the racetrack, and then you're, to a certain degree, and I understand it's not work, but you go to the racetrack, you're putting in work to turn wind lights on, right? Especially when you, like you say, when you're bringing 2 or 3 bikes, running 2 or 3 different classes, that is a busy. Andrew and I both have double entered our fair share. Andrew's been tripled more times than I have. So kind of understand that moving around, but really cool to be doing that and have that opportunity. So that is for sure a work-like setting, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, like, I was quite fortunate. My bikes, they're fast, but not a lot of maintenance. And you do the maintenance in between races. And in the winter, even though they're still running, you pull the motors all apart, go through the transmissions, re-ring it, new cam chain, new valve springs. That was my winter, where other people would be out snowmobiling or doing, winter sports. And I'm in the garage getting ready for the next season.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, when you're racing multiple classes, you don't have time, during the race, to be working on the bikes.
No.
They got to be in, ready to go. There's no testing. It's let's get right into the racing.
Yeah. You just figure it out right when you roll it.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually I would do the test and tune just to get, familiarized with the track and see where the bike was and get myself back in the groove.
Something I'd be curious about. So you've had such a long career with success through so many periods of time. And I look at it from, like, talk about the early 90s with your first championships to, like the recent run into Vegas, right? The bike sled class, or in general, like the bike class, has transitioned so much over the years. You've done a fantastic job transitioning with it, from the point where the simplicities of the 90s, right, where electronics didn't exist around, for the any world, right? Like delay box racing didn't really exist to the same extent we see now. And you've taken, your career from bottom ball to the various, movements through, like the index classes, right? I think we were at the track one day talking about how we ran the throttle stops on the bike versus, how, we run throttle stops in the cars, and just at that level of technology. What's been the key for you to transition through those? Because, there's lots of folks who've done well at one point in the career and come back and not nearly done as well. And you've never seen a lull. Like, you've done so well with that through all those. What's been kind of a secret for you to just keep on top of it and keep going forward like you have so successfully?
Well, some of it is I don't change a lot of stuff. Once I get something figured out, I'll keep, using it. And when I started, we never even had 2 steps. It was like, launch at 3,000 or 4,000 and twist the throttle and let the clutch out. Now, we have slider clutches, 2 steps, the delay box and the air throttle. And my first time of trying to slow the bike down was a down track stutter with MSD. Put a chip in it and put it on the 2-step going down the track. And that was how to slow the bike down. Put a timer on it and figure out how many seconds or tenth of a seconds you need to go from an 840 to get it to slow to an 860. And then MSD kind of went by the wayside, and we came out with different ignition systems. And now I use, an air throttle, but like we were talking, where a super comp car just falls on its face, like shuts the throttle right off at the hit. With a bike, you can't do that because now you're wobbling, and it won't shift the gears. So you got to keep a certain amount of power to it and keep the chassis loaded and keep it so it will rev out to the next gear to do the gear change. And, just keep it from just kind of in its tracks so it's not kind of wobbling around. So you can probably pull about, a third of the power out of it at the hit. But I'm not sure if some guys are doing it farther down track, but I've always, been doing it, right at the hit. And then just trying to, try to come up with a ratio. Usually it's 2-to-1, put 2/10 in, you lose a couple, you lose 100. But
So the
it's just,
refinement part, once you find something that really works, you just work on refining that. Because one of the things that you see sometimes is like you get folks who like, new technology comes out, they just jump right on top of it. Like they're in that first kind of wave, right? Whereas, and forgive me if I don't want to put words in the mouth. It sounds like you'll take something and refine that. And if something better comes along or a new technique, you'll incorporate that, but you're not lining up first in line to go out and find the new piece coming down from the XYZ company.
Exactly. I still on my one bike have the old Dyna ignition on it. Dyna 4000 Super Pro. They quit making them because they wouldn't fail. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
And now they don't make them. But it's one of those things you never had to carry a spare one because they never broke. It's they seem to work well, the bikes, try not to make too many changes. And the only thing I'm having the hardest time on is figuring out weather stations, trying to figure out a dial in. It's great if I can make a lap or two, get some seat time on that day.
Yep.
But to go from one day to the next day seems to be the hardest, stepping stone. And some of it is a lot of the programs are set up for cars.
I was going to say the dynamics of the motorcycle engine have to be, in some odd cases, radically different than what the algorithms that come in some of these stations are looking for, right? Because
the weight, the aero, how much does the wind affect, a bike over a car, or, to a dragster. Well, a lot of guys have figured it out on the dragsters versus a door car, but on the motorcycles, they really haven't, or I haven't come across somebody that has.
Yeah.
But,
so talking about kind of your weather station, I don't want to say woes, but because obviously they're not really woes with we have a resume like this, right? The weather station is not holding you back that hard, but I understand wanting to get better at that. And you and I talked a little bit before the show of some examples, I guess, of where tracking the weather could be better, or you could be more utilized for it. So that leads us to Vegas, right? Before we get totally into that, let's do kind of how you got invited to that trip. Let's talk about the series that you won, how that season went to get there before we actually do get into Vegas itself.
So I won the track championship this year at Cayuga for the RCSS. So that puts you in basically two races. You get to race of champions, and then you get the regular bracket race. Well, there was rain coming for Saturday. So our the big race is usually on Saturday. So they put us in hurry up mode, and we're going to get it all done on Friday. So on Thursday, they were giving us time runs, and I ran my fast bike on Thursday and went in a gambler's race, and I just wasn't comfortable leaving with the delay box. I don't have an air, like a rear brake on it. So when I go on the two-step, that a rear brake comes on. So it was kind of screwing up my staging and my reactions a bit. So I found out that on Friday I could switch bikes, go back to what I call the moneymaker. So first run on Friday, 003 red light. I put 9 thou in it. No, 12 thou, sorry. Come out again for first round race champions, 004 red. I'm done for the race champions. And I go, I had to sit from 10:30 till 4:30. You know, mind you, I was pissed, you know, and just try to gather my thoughts. And then also you're sitting for 6 hours, you're kind of going, what do I dial? And the bike was pretty consistent in the 8th mile. So I, you know, picked a, you know, 57 dial, 557, because we're running 8th mile. And it's random drawing for pairs. So you just pull up and the director of the lanes will figure out who you're running. The guy red lights. I run it out. I go a 56 with an 8. And I go, okay, we're, you know, light was not the greatest, 34 or 35 light. So next, I don't think I changed the box. I just left it alone. Come out again. I get another gift. Guy red lights. And I changed it to a 56. Dial in, I go a 57. Talking to the guy red lit by 004 red. I talked to him after. He pulled 4 thou out of his box before the run. So stroke of luck. So my light wasn't great again. It was a 34, 35. And I go, I can't win this race. So before I went up, I had pulled 14 thou out of my box to get to a 20. Before I started the bike up, I put 4 thou back in it. Okay. So I basically pulled 1/100th out of it before the next run. It came up 003 green and, you know, stroke and won the round. You know, the other guy was not too great on the tree. So that got me the next round. Well, the 003 gave me a bye into the 4th round. And dialed to 57, it goes to 57. So then for the semis, I had put some in the box to be safe. And I staged, and as soon as I staged, the guy took off before the tree was activated. But I had to wait there till the tree came, because if you leave before the tree is activated, you're both out of the race. So my light was horrible because you can't judge anymore, but the bike went at 57 again. So the final was Johnny Teasdale, who I know out of Lebanon, and he had been posting Thursday, Friday, all of his, you know, lights, 008, 009, you know, 11s, but I didn't care. You know, and we're both dialed identical 557s. And when the tree come down, I was gone, and he was basically, you know, he missed the tree, get to the finish line, just rolled out of it, won a 61 on a 57. And I think I was a 24 or 25 on the tree to his 127. But he told me he flinched on the button. And, you know, but, you know, it was, you know, could have been a little better run if, you know, but I'll take it. I was happy. Probably the happiest I've been, you know, winning a drag race. So, and it was great. I had a friend of mine, Ted Glenny, who is probably one of the first people that I met when I started drag racing, you know, over 40 years ago. He came down with me to Numidia, you know, to be my pit guy. So it was a big help having him there. You know, mechanically, he's great. You know, good all-around pit guy. He knows bikes, and, you know, somebody I could talk with, about what's going on at the race. So we had a great time. We drank, that night till 4 a.m, and everybody else was going to Empire. They went to Empire the next day to run, and I go, nope, not me.
Yeah.
We had enough, celebrating to do, with what went on there. But so
yeah,
that
that's
was
a trip coming up now, right? So
yeah, and the trophy that I've got a few Wallies, but the Wally for that divisional is totally different than any other Wally. It's bigger, heavier, polished, so a real nice trophy.
They're
But,
cool. They are definitely different from like the National Open Wallies and whatnot. Like a divisional, a quote unquote real Wally. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not discrediting the National Open ones at all or anything like that. I have one as well, but like the divisional or the national Wallies are what you want, right? And what you
yeah,
need, and the difference really is there. You can see it, I think, when you have it in your hands, and so that's cool, right? That's an awesome story, awesome deal to get into it. And then so right then and there you win the race. Is there any thought about Vegas? Like, is there a question? Are you maybe going? Are you maybe not? Or what's the how's that go?
I'm going,
Yeah.
Me and Harry Olsen already had our tickets booked to fly out to Vegas, along with Ted and Marty. They were flying out, and then Brad and Cecilia, they were flying out. And then as soon as I won, my son Adam, he was, I'm going to the passport office on Monday. I'm getting my passport. I'm flying out, and talked with my other son, and yep, I'll go. So it was great. I had my two sons ended up flying out to Vegas, but no, there was no thought about not going. You only you can only go if you're invited, and I got invited, and I'm want to go to the big dance, right?
That's it. That's it. And the big dance, it definitely is, right? Like at the Strip, that's a wild time. So you drove out on your own, correct?
Yeah, which I don't mind driving out on my own. I just get in a zone and I get behind the wheel and listen to different music or whatever, and I maybe push it harder than other people would like. So, and I left sooner than maybe other people could go.
Yeah.
Being retired, I can come and go as I please, and go by my own schedule.
Yeah.
But I ended up leaving on Saturday afternoon, rolled in at, I think, Monday night at 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And that was into Vegas, unhooked my trailer, and then drove to California to pick up some parts. So
That's
another
wild.
5 hours each way, so it was definitely a ton of driving.
Yeah.
But,
so what's that drive like? I know when I go on big tours or something like that, or we're going for a drive to the racetrack, you kind of in your mind, you amp yourself up. And Andrew, I know we've talked to this before, like you get that butterfly kind of feeling, like you're just so excited to get there. And especially to an event like this, how was that for you? Just kind of alone in your thoughts for what almost seems like 40 hours, headed out there.
It's more than a 40-hour drive. Like, I don't push it. Like, 100K, 60, 65 mile an hour. I'm in no rush. But it's kind of like, you've been behind the wheel for 25 hours or 24 hours, and you kind of go, geez, I'm only halfway there.
Yeah.
I still got a lot, so in some parts, there's just nothing there. So you're just driving and driving. And my half ton doesn't have a big fuel tank. So really, I carried 10 gallons of gas with me, but you're stopping every 3 to 4 hours to get fuel, depending on how bad the headwind was. But, so it just drags. So sometimes it started to drag on, like, geez, am I not there yet? Your ass is sore and just want to, get out of the truck. You know,
Yeah,
and I,
that's where, like, I guess the small gas tank is kind of good then, right? You get to stretch
ye-
those legs after 3 or 4 hours where, when you're rolling further, it's hard to stop if you don't need to.
right. Yeah. Because, you I know if I took my motorhome, I'd probably sit behind the wheel for 6 hours without, moving,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is not good for you. But
yeah,
I ended up getting a room for one night just to, stretch out and get 5 or 6 hours of good sleep and then hit the road again in the morning. And,
for
but,
sure. And that's why you left early, right? Making an enjoyable ride instead of, having to be in a hurry, like you said, to roll out there. So
yeah.
that's cool. So you guys got out there and set up Monday, did all your traveling around and whatnot. When did you get on the racetrack?
Well, we got to park the rig on Wednesday at the track, get our parking spot. And the way they do it is Summit um, has designated spots for all the Summit ET Series champions. Um, and it's primo parking. It's like one row behind the pros. So it's that worked out really nice. And then Thursday was we basically had sort of meet and greet. So we got pictures taken. We had dinner at Tony Schumacher's hospitality tent. Um, they did after dinner. We did the drawings for pairings, and they had big name racers there, like um, Greg Anderson was there, Wilkerson, Clay, Eddie Craywick, Gage Herrera. Geez, I think there was some more there. So it was, kind of good, real friendly, low down, like, you know, low key to, just relaxed. And, they put on a great dinner. Got to meet the, um, I think his name is Jim from Summit. I hope I got that right. But got to meet him and thank him for, what he does for, for us sportsman guys. Because without that, you would think twice about going, if you got invited, because they help you with the road trip, the finances. So Thursday, that was that day. And then on Friday, they had us designated for around 2:30 uh, for our first time run down the track. And, they're, pretty close, like, we knew exactly what cars we were following. And then on Saturday, they gave us 2 time runs, one at 10 and one again at around 2:30, 3 o'clock. Same thing, didn't change the run order, kept it, what they had posted. And then Sunday morning, they did driver introduction before the pros. So they brought all 40 of us up on stage, introduced us division by division, and then got to walk the track, then come back. Then they did, the pro introduction and got into the pros. And our first round was around 1 o'clock. The way they scheduled it was to be before the pros come out again for second round. So the first round, um, so, kind of almost the same point in the day where we made our time runs, except for Friday and Saturday, we had a crosswind, which not a real strong wind that didn't affect, the bike that much. But then on Sunday morning, we had a strong headwind, like 20, 25-mile-an-hour headwind. And the altitude went from 3,800 down to about 1,800. So we have better air, but now we have a headwind. And trying to, rack your brain on what the heck is going to happen. Is it going to, is the headwind going to knock out the performance advantage that you gain with the better altitude, or slow you down more, or speed you up? So I actually was talking on the phone with a friend of mine out of Florida, and he's been to this race a few times, Roy Hagedorn. So anybody that knows motorcycle racing knows Roy Hagedorn. And between him and his daughter, they were helping me, coaching me, giving me somebody to talk to try to figure out what to dial, you know. So I did, you know, for first round, dial it down some because we figured it was going to be quicker. I think I dialed it down 400s, and I went a 52 on a 58. Whereas the day before I went a 62. So it picked up like a tenth, even with the big headwind. But it put on the wind light, which was the most important thing for first round.
Because that
And
was a
then,
very mixed first round, watching between sportsman and pro and super pro and bike. Like everybody suffered in that round with some wild dial-ins. Like there only, I think, was, I've got round one pulled up, and I think there was only one person, round one, first pair. He was one under, out the back door, and everyone else was, 100, 103 under, 113 under.
yeah,
Some very big numbers. Super pro wasn't much different than pro. So, I mean, it was something where the entire
double
group,
breakouts. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Like I think it was the pro that went before us. All eight, eight vehicles. It was all double breakouts.
yeah, yeah.
No one wanted to give it up the finish line. No, I'm taking it, but it was very hard. And then, first round, we had an incident with one of our bike guys, Jason. He took a little too much finish line and got on the brakes hard, and the front tire washed out. He got lucky because the bike went directly into the wall with him also. So it's, he did get banged up, but he's going to be okay. And the bike is fixable, but not pleasant to see, but
It's a scary deal. Because I remember watching that on the live stream, and right at the finish line, and watching him go down essentially right ahead of you in a sense, right? The pair ahead of you, right? With the conversation of wins, and Vegas being one of those tracks that, bikes have historically, a lot of everyone suffered with wins there, right? It's a bit of a scary deal. How did, that was kind of a long wait, because again, it was a big, incident, right? How did that, wait time work out? Because, that's a long kind of situation to really sit there and think about everything while you're on deck.
you know what? And it's weird. It didn't seem like a long wait. It seemed like they got the bike picked up and, got him into an ambulance, and like it seemed like 20 minutes and we were rolling again. But I don't know. My head, not thinking about, I had no nervousness all weekend. I just happened to be, in a somewhat groove where not letting anything bother me, don't care who I got to race, or, just worrying about myself. Not that I wasn't worried about Jason, but, you think about it and you hope he's okay. And, but, yeah, the weight wasn't that bad. So, and I never seen the bike go down. So, I was 2 pairs behind, but, I ended up, sticking to the last pair. But
That's good. And then, sorry, carry on, Andrew.
So I was just gonna say, so you get through that round, resetting now, like that's the big round win, right? Like round one always feels like that gigantic round win, but even more so maybe in this sense, because now you're down to 4. Hard part being is you don't get much momentum, like in the sense of you got to wait now, right? You got to go through the pro round to come back around on the scheduled allotment. What you take that run, it's a lot faster than you expected. Back to the pits. How are you preparing as you get into round 2? Like, where's where are you looking now? What are you trying to figure out for dial-ins and tactics, and just game planning when you have so much time now too, with a run that's obviously off the charts a touch?
I was entered the run in my weather station, and seeing what it's trying to predict, and then looking from the run previous, like the day before, and looking, how much it picked up all the way down the track. And then I was texting with Roy, what's your thoughts, Roy? And he's got all the numbers in front of him of what I ran the day before, what I ran now, and what the weather conditions are. Him and his daughter were, we think it's going to do this. We think it's going to do that. And so I think I dialed at 52, but it slowed down for the second round, which, seems strange, but we spent so much time trying to calculate what the heck it's going to do. And then, for second round, I'm positive I think I was dialed at about a 52 or 53 and
51 on the
51.
Yep.
Yeah. And then went at 58, didn't I?
That one's a 69, but the other guy was 17, like 170 over. So
Yeah.
just based on looking at the numbers, it looks like you might have rolled out of it to chew up some space there.
He was sitting down at the finish line, almost like waiting for it. I had a good light. I had an 016 light.
Yep.
But it's like Adam, I think, talked to him, and he let off, rolled the throttle off, and the throttle's locked or vacuum locked. So he wasn't trying to shut it right off, but he couldn't pull the throttle back on because they vapor locked down.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So that, I guess, so it was like I just stayed in it and kind of drove on by him. But yeah, just, so kind of go, what the heck, I'm looking at my 330s and the 660 and, 1,000 foot, and I go, it's slower than the first round. Why? But talking with Roy, he goes, were you watching the guy? And I go, yeah, like if you look at the video, about 400 feet out, I'm starting to look to see if he's coming up on me. You can see my helmet kind of twisting, looking over to the left to see if he's, where is he on the track? And Roy says, well, that affects, slowing down some, but I watched the video at home, and I know I was looking, but I don't think I was really, catching any more wind. I just think the bike or the air, affected the bike and slowed it down.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so big round win at the end of the day moves you into the final round now. And in the final round, you see that you've moved up, so you've gone to the 859 dial in, right, for the final round. So you've moved it up, 8 full numbers for the semi, and almost back to a round one dial in, right?
Almost, yeah. Just trying to look at, the run and going, I think I actually had a 58 on it when I left the trailer or when I was in the lanes, and I went up to 59 before the run. And there's a coin toss for lane choice. We both wanted the right lane, and I won the coin toss, because I felt the right lane, the sun's not hitting the Christmas tree on that time of the day. But I actually liked the left lane because you seem to be able to see the bulb better. It's almost like there was something funny about the tree in the right lane, but I don't know. But I wanted the right lane because of the sun, because Roy has told me before, when the sun is on that tree, you can't see the bulb. So I chose the right lane, and like I was telling Brian, I was not nervous all weekend, like every run, like didn't care, just, but the reaction time says otherwise. Or there was an issue, because I had an 079 light, which, I'm still upset about because I think I'm better than that. And, the guy had a decent light, like a 034 light. he even had a worse light in the final. Like if you go back in his time runs, and he was 13s and 16s all weekend, except for his very first run when he had a problem. And I lent him a tool to fix his bike, actually, on Friday. But that's what you do, right?
That's drag racing. That's sportsman drag racing, right? So
yeah. So he would, I think, putting him in the left lane, the sun, probably affected his bulb some, but he still had a way better light than, he had 4.5 hundredths on the tree. And, I ran it full out, but I couldn't catch him. And, I had the dial pretty close. I went a 60 with a 7 on a 59. But I don't know if he let off a little bit just to, make it a little tighter at the finish line. But,
right.
Great guy, talked to him a little bit, that was his third trip to the dance. So first time he's won it.
And that's the funny thing when you watch this race. There's the Pro ET World Champion, which came out of Division 1 as well. That was his second trip, I believe. And one of the interesting things I see about this race is that you see there's a consistency to those who go. Like there's quite a few people that have made that trip, and it's not like it's a all-inclusive, everyone gets to go type world final. It's you've got to win your way into it, right? So
you seem to be more nervous at the divisional race than you do at this race, or that's what I feel. Because even though there's a couple more rounds, but it's just things have to click. You can be dead on all the time, but you do need some luck with you. And some of the races, like you could be 005 on the tree, but the guy goes 002 and goes dead on with a 1. But you put up a good run, but he just put up a little better run, right? So it's some lady luck sometimes, just to how the cards fall. But like the Super Pro winner, Billy, out of Division 1, kind of talked to him a little bit, and he rented a dragster for that race. Okay, that was not his dragster. He rented the dragster, and then he told me after the final, his sister, who is a very accomplished racer also, that his sister came up to him and said, there's something about the tree, a little more shade or something. Put 1 thou in the box. So he listened to her. He put 1 thou in. His light was triple zip, in the final. If he had not listened to his sister,
1 thou on the other side, and putting a number 2 on the car for 2024.
Right. So that's it's
it's all, there's a lot that goes into it, right? And sometimes these little decisions, no different than the opponent you had at the bracket finals, where pulls 4 to go 4 red, right? You can sometimes the best laid educated guess still leads you in the wrong direction just by that little bit. One of the interesting things that we talked about off air that I was intrigued by was your thoughts on just success when it comes to what you do on track, and the difficulties it comes to next year, and repeating that, and the drive that you have to kind of keep at a level, maybe move your game up to still be as successful as you were last year, next year. Having had this taste in Vegas, having gone through this, my assumption is that your preparation is to get back in, get qualified, make a run at the division title again, to do this again. What would you do next year based on all this to change up your program to try to strive to repeat and do this again and get back to Vegas for 2024?
Definitely maybe pick up the practice tree a little more. I never pick it up, and I think I probably should. Me and Harry went through this at one race down, I think it was 2017 or 18. I couldn't cut a light at all, my lights were horrible. So me and Harry grabbed the practice tree. Harry was kicking my butt, even on the practice tree. And then all of a sudden, the brain started working, and I think I ended up going out and winning the race. So it does help, doing that, just getting your brain in the mode of killing the bulb every time you see it. And I wish I would have done that. The other thing, I don't know if it was me or the bike, I'm going to put a new delay box on it. It's been on there for quite a few years, and I have a new delay box, and I almost put it on before the race weekend started. Now I'm wishing I would have. Just was that the variance, or was it me? I had a hard time. They're 3 hours behind, right? So I wasn't getting my sleep, waking up early, and so waking up at 5 a.m. or whatever, and it makes a long day. Not quite as young as what I used to be, so I don't know, and make sure I have some good energy food with me. It's not that I don't do any exercising or that. I still play hockey a couple times a week. I do a lot of walking, to keep, it's kind of like racing to keep your adrenaline going. So the hockey is really good for that, because you're pushing yourself past any limits that you would normally, do. So if, racing gets a hurry up and go, it doesn't bother me usually. But that's probably, I'm just going to go over the bike and make sure, I'm not missing something. Is why, was it the bike that reacted bad, or was it the driver? Right now we're going to blame the driver, because he's in control of both, right?
Fair.
But I will be hungry to definitely come back, but try not to dwell on it is my, when you think, okay, I'm going to go there and I'm going to win again. Well, it may not happen, but going to go there again and just try to get focused and have a good time, just stay relaxed. And, I think the biggest thing sometimes is, and you probably know it, you're pretty accomplished, both of you is, some guys are beat before they even come on the line, because they're worrying about who they're racing instead of worrying about, their own,
executing a good run, right?
Right. Yeah. Because you can be, you don't win every race, do you? I don't win every race, exactly. Yeah. So we can all be beat, on any given day. And the sport is a humbling sport. So as soon as you think that you are king shit, you're not, because it'll, knock you off that pedestal pretty quick.
If it finds a kneecap pretty fast and gets you down on one leg.
Right? It does.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty good at that for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I never, all the races I've won and that, I never rub it in. Like, I didn't go over to that, Johnny Teasdale and, hey, I beat you, I kicked your ass. No. We had a run, and yes, today I won. Next year could be different. So I never, karma is, can bite you in the ass.
Yeah, you are definitely right about that. Mike, we have a question here that was brought up. I'll bring it up on the screen for you, and we'll get your thoughts on this one. Here we go. What are your thoughts on, well, congratulations first, phenomenal year, as always. What are your thoughts on bikes running against the sleds in and at and on regular weekends at the local tracks?
Bike and sleds together?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem at all. Like there's not enough sleds to make a class. And some weekends at RCSS, there's not enough bikes, and do I want to go to a race where there's only 6 bikes, and then there's, maybe 6 sleds in another class? No. I'd rather have, say 12 or 14 or 16 or 20. I got friends that, race sleds and, um, it's called bracket racing. So it's kind of, at the finish line, we're all equal, and the way our CSS does it, we're pro tree handicap and we can deep stage. So the guys with the sleds, are knocking the top bulb out. I myself with my bike, I don't need to knock the top bulb out. I can backdoor stage and cut a, sometimes even have to put a delay in it. But no, I don't mind the sleds at all. Do I like racing against cars? Not so much. The danger of them, and I don't know. I think the car guys, especially those dragster guys, two 14-inch slicks, never spin a tire, cutting double O's all day long. I only get that once in a while on the bike where that's the way it is. Where things are focused. My bike is fairly consistent, but racing a, door car, or a dragster, it's just not what I want to do. I know down south they do it a lot, but I don't like the aspect of it of if for some reason I got out of control and went over the center line, or the car got out of control and came across. We don't have protection for that.
No.
So I myself, so I don't mind that. Now we went to St. Thomas for the bracket finals. And I ran the first run in the right lane and I ran 153 going through the quarter mile. And I've never been through such a cornfield in my life, bouncing and banging, and they came over and said, you can't run your delay box, which I didn't know. And I said, well, we shouldn't be running quarter mile here at those speeds. The track's not safe. So Charlene said, well, you're allowed to run going top if you want. You can run your delay box, and they're running 8th mile. I go, sign me up, because I don't want to run quarter mile at that track. It's not safe, and somebody's going to go down on a bike because it's so bouncing. Like you're bouncing so bad. It's going to be the same as, what happened, Angie Smith, going over a bump, you're on your brakes, the front end washes out. What happened like at St. Louis with her, Kelly Klotz, I don't think there was really a bump there, but, too much front brake.
Washed
out.
Yeah,
I think she got into a panic because I think Pomona is a little shorter track. But no, more sleds, or more bikes. I'd rather have 20 bikes or 40 bikes. It just makes it, then you're not racing the same people over and over again.
It's a lot of fun, right? It's a blast doing all that stuff and having the large field and really making it more of a competition, right?
Yeah. What's nice is like this year we've seen other people, in the winter circle. It's just not me. There's other, Bull won, Howie won, so it was kind of nice. We got to get Cecilia into the winter circle. She's coming along great. She ended up being sportsman of the year this year for RCSS. So that was, huge for her. Congrats on that. But, it'd be nice to see her go some more rounds and get into the, winter circle.
Because kudos to the RCSS, like they've built a very competitive, bike sled division. Like when you see the results, as you pointed out, like it's not a foregone conclusion type category of, Mike is either going to win or runner up today. Like there's been some diversity in it. You've seen the competitiveness over the last few years really come up, right? And
Definitely.
I will go out on a limb and say that's there's a couple riders in that class who probably contributed to that because like yourself, in that you set a bar and people are striving to get into that bar, and in doing so they've become very good riders and very good racers, right? So it's become a very competitive environment there.
Well, that's some of the reason why, many years ago, when I went to the US, I was getting my ass handed to me, like in Pro ET. And, either you quit or you learn to get better. And, to me, it's learn how to get better, um, find out what they're doing and, try to be, become better yourself and, get to the winner's circle that way instead of making changing rules or whatever to not allow him or whatever. Because believe me, there's guys when I went down to the US, like they're tough cookies down there, some of them. Or I shouldn't say some of them, a lot, like pretty well all of them. It's no different than you guys going to the $1 million races, like everybody's cutthroat, like you got to be on your game.
There's some value in, not to go on a tangent, but like there's some value to going to some of these larger events in the US, regardless of what class or area you come from inside the racing world, because you say like there's a lot of value in what you could pick up. I've certainly gone to a lot of events, turned on very, very few win lights, which at the time is a bit of a moral defeat because you're hoping to go rounds, but the reality is what you pick up, what you learn, what you take back home, and an institute can just be invaluable as assuming your eyes are open looking at these things to your program, right? And you bring it back, get better at it, and the next trip down, all of a sudden you do have some win lights, right? And at home you're turning on more win lights. Like you don't have to follow the world circuit, but there's value in going to some of these bigger races, right? Playing up a level and just seeing what that looks like to come back with it, right?
RCSS, like Charlene and Louis and their families, like they put on a real good series. They make it for the family, because if you bring your wife and kids, they have something to do. If there's a rain out, okay, they do the golf cart and mini bike races, they do the Halloween stuff. They try to do stuff to involve everybody there. But there's a lot of work, that goes in that a lot of people don't, see, like not just on race weekend, but week in, week out. Like we just had the banquet this weekend, and where did all these door prizes come? They had a table full of door prizes, and it's not just from sponsors, but it's from, racers or whatever that donating. But they also brought up all the sponsors that were there. And there was probably at least 20 sponsors there, and without them, we might not have a series, and I don't know the value, how much they're putting in. It don't matter, but they're a sponsor. So it's great. They treat them right. The sponsors, they're taking care of them because they might not be for us bike guys, but they're for the organization, So, we have a car guy donating, Mike from Caledonia Tire. He's the one that sponsors our bike and sled class, has for the last, I'm not sure how many years, but, why would he want to do a bike class, but he does. And, I can't thank him enough, so maybe one of these other the companies say, hey, I want to kick in on the bikes too, So you got to treat everybody, whether they're, sponsoring cars, for the cars or bikes, we need them make the organization, grow.
Absolutely. And I know that series in general, Charlene and Louis, I think they put in a lot more than they get in return, especially like monetarily. They obviously love the sport, so they do an awesome job there with all that, so they work really hard to support it. So that's awesome to hear that, you really enjoy it and really appreciate it, because I know everybody else does. And And the few times I've gotten to go to an RCSS event, it's always awesome. And I love talking to Louis and Shar, and love when I get to go see them and race with them. So it's definitely a cool feeling. You are definitely right. We need to support the series and the local series, and support those sponsors and those who support us to continue to do what we do.
Yeah, it's no different than, the sponsors you have for your, Bracket Life channel,
Yep.
right? You want to, get their word out so that, could be one racer that goes to them or 10 racers,
That's it.
but to support them.
Absolutely. So, Mike, that was awesome. It was a great interview. Before we do wrap this all up, I know that you have, you mentioned a bunch of names earlier, a bunch of guys that help you. Is there anybody that you wanted to finish it off with and give a thanks to for all the support and whatnot over the years?
Well, just have, like Paul Gass, you'll see his name on my bike, Fast by Gas. And I don't ask for anything. Okay. But I put his name on the bike. But when I was chasing the US circuit, if I was racing locally on Sunday, but I was leaving on Wednesday to go somewhere and I broke a transmission or broke a valve spring or whatever, I could be at Paul's shop on Monday morning waiting for it to be fixed, come back home Monday night, get everything ready and go to the race. So what Paul gave me was service, not money, but gave me service, quality service, because he does all my transmissions and head work and any machining in that. And he's a heck of a racer. So whenever you need any advice, you got, the best. But so Paul from Fast by Gas, and, a lot of friends and family, that, help out because I can't do it by myself. I can't, the bike, we have to push it up to the lanes. We have to push it back to the trailer, use a remote starter. But so I always need a pit person to, to do that. So I always, trying to find out who can get away for the weekend or, but we always have a lot of fun. The traveling is, sometimes we'll take street bikes and get away for the, a couple extra days. But no, without family and friends and, definitely Paul and Dan Rudd from NPS down in Florida. I actually called him on Saturday morning. I have a cell number, right? So I called him, Dan, I have this issue from Vegas. Yeah, no problem, Mike. Talk, what do you need? So that goes a long way, people like that.
Yep.
But, absolutely. And hard to do it all without them.
Right. Yeah. You can have all the money in the world, but you still need, friends and, to get you through it all.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Mike, for coming on and doing this. This is a lot of fun. Andrew, is there anything else you wanted to hit before we let Mike back to the real world,
Just want to thank you for coming on. It's been great to chat with you about this, to hear about the Vegas experience. It's a sales pitch on getting into doing some more of the local racing, following some of the NHRA to try to qualify for these things, because it certainly sounded like an awesome experience for you to go to. And the way you spoke about it, when you've got such a highlighted career, and how highly you enjoyed the trip when you've had so many other great accomplishments, I think speaks volumes of it. You've done a fantastic job. We were all proud of you. I was cheering for you every round until you were up there running. So you got nothing to hang your head about. You had a fantastic year. And I look forward to watching you go back, because I'm more than positive you're going to have an opportunity to do this again based on what I've seen in the past.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a great time. Great to do this. I know a lot of folks got to stay on here for and this is, we're an hour and 15 minutes at this point, and we're still have a load of people on here. So, obviously Mike, you're a big draw. You have a lot of fans around and friends and family that want to check it out. So it's really cool. Awesome getting to know you. I'm excited to run into you at a racetrack here sometime soon, and we can hang out in person. But that was great. Great year. Congratulations again on everything. Right. And a great career. And I'm excited to see what you still have, in store.
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
Yes, sir.
Keep
Absolutely.
going. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. We will let you go, and we will talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you. See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
That was great, Andrew. I wasn't. I don't want to say I wasn't sure what to expect, right? Because I've heard great things about Mike before, and he talked a little bit about Harry Olsen, and I've parked beside Harry for years at Shannonville and Luskville, so really cool to finally get to meet the man himself, and hang out and do this. Is really neat, awesome for everybody who stayed for the whole interview, right? I think there was a lot of great content there, a lot of great stories, and something that we've already talked about, how we get to do something like that, or how we get to try and compete on that level the way that Mike did. So that's really neat.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
One of the things I missed, to be honest with you, and I missed this part. He was Mike's inducted into the Canadian Motorcycle Motorsports Hall of Fame. I think I had this note down, and I meant to mention this on the intro part, and I missed it. Certainly an accomplishment that, like, it was the first drag racer, I believe, to be inducted into that. And if there was ever someone that needed to have an induction ceremony to the Drag Racing Hall of Fame in Montreal in 2024 or 25, boy, I really know someone. No one jumps out in my head right now more than Mike does, based on looking at that resume and talking to the man about it. Just a legendary racer for in the Canadian marketplace.
Absolutely, it's a great point. Glad you got to bring it up. Right, really cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you all very much. Quick wrap up before we do leave the show. Black Friday is coming up. If you haven't seen the 100 advertisements there is everywhere around for it, Bracket Life jumping on the bandwagon there. 25% off all apparel and Wild Willie products for Black Friday now until December 3rd. So whether you're Black Friday shopping, Christmas shopping, or just shopping for fun because you want to buy some racing stuff to get ready for next year, right? Who knows? Check it out, bracketlifebrand.com. Go to the shop. I believe everything's on sale now.
Yep.
Check that. I can throw up, actually.
You got the QR code?
I got the QR code. It's up in the corner.
It is.
We'll put the big one here.
Even better.
You pause this. You scan this video, click on the link, check that out, go right to the store. Pick up.
We can just keep talking for a couple more minutes. Leave it up. I mean, you don't need to pause. Just get the phone out, right? Get some Christmas stuff rolling, get some stuff happening, right? You ever get down, get a little depressed, just buy some stuff, right? You get a momentary kick. Why not look good when you're doing it?
That exactly. But on that note, guys, I appreciate it. Andrew, thanks again. Love doing this, right? It was your idea having Mike come on, so really cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, great.
Thank you all for checking us out. Like and share. If you're on YouTube, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're not on YouTube, go log into YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys all 2 weeks. Thanks again, Katie Transmissions, for always supporting us, Bracket Life, and everything else that we do with racing. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Have a good one.
Bracket racing isn't just what we do. It's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket Life.